Give them a shot to do what?
All right. On tonight's pod, look at Dwayne Marcus popping in and during the bumper, man. He's
Perfect
good,
timing.
Man.
Yeah.
That boy's good, man. That boy is real good. We are going to talk a little MLB. It just snuck up on us. Opening day is tomorrow, which is March 30th. Lamar Jackson probably needs to stop tweeting. I don't know
I don't think so. I think you should keep tweeting.
Nah. I don't know whose situation is more annoying. Is it Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers at this point? Like, I'm getting tired of both of them.
I'm not annoyed by Lamar's situation because he's bringing to light some things that haven't with the Lamar situation, we'll get into this, but I don't know who I believe. Aaron Rodgers is more annoying because of the history.
So we'll do a deep dive into that, and then we'll play a little fair or foul. And we're gonna try not to talk too much Aaron Rodgers today because I think I'm about
it.
Yeah. But hey, opening day tomorrow. Let's go.
Sports.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Stuff About Sports presented by the Give Us a Shot Network. Dwayne Marcus is here. Bert's here. I'm here. And we're going to get to Lamar Jackson in a little bit because I think that's just the most interesting part of the sports week. There's not much interesting happening. We're still on Aaron Rodgers watch. We're still on draft watch. And I think what Lamar and what the Jets do, I think it's not 100% given that the Panthers are going to keep that number one pick. And I also think there's going to be some movement. Maybe like a Washington sneaks into the top 3. Who knows? But I think a lot of people are waiting on Lamar Jackson. But soon to be the fastest 2.5 hours of sports starts tomorrow, Bert. Major League Baseball with the new rules changes. We're getting super sweet fast baseball happening. But before we get to that, we have to give a condolences to JT Realmuto, who had 2,000 games played and had his streak snapped by Gary, whatever the fuck his name was.
Who cares? Who cares? I don't even want to bring his name into this. And I think, when I saw this and we were thinking about topics for the show this week, I texted Jerm and I was like, we have to talk about umpires easily being the most emotionally fragile officiants in all major sports.
Yeah.
In all of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know who I blame more, the history of the game or the fact that no player has ever decided to punch an official before. Am I calling for violence? No. I'm just shocked it hasn't happened before for something as ridiculous as this. And for those who don't know, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bert. No, you do it.
For those that don't know, JT Realmuto, catcher for the Phillies, was I guess they were in the middle of an inning. I don't even know who was on the mound at the time, but pitcher called for a new ball after there was a clock violation because he didn't have his knee up high enough by the time it struck 0. So basically they called it a violation. The pitcher wanted to change out the ball. He did. The first time the ump threw the ball back to the pitcher directly, which happens in Major League Baseball. It does. Pitcher looked at the ball, inspected it, didn't like what he saw, threw it to the side again, and called for a brand new ball. This time, and out of habit, JT Realmuto puts his glove back as though he's going to receive the ball to throw back to his own pitcher. Well, I guess the second time it happened, he put his glove back much like he did the first time, but then realized, oh, wait, I'm not going to get this because the ump is going to throw it right to the pitcher. The pitcher was calling for it as though he thought it was coming right for the ump too. So as Realmuto's looking at the pitcher, he just figured, oh, that's right, they're going to throw it back. They've got this. He put his glove down, and as he was putting his glove down, the ump went to place it in his mitt, and it ended up falling on the floor. It's like you go to pass somebody a note in school, and they don't look too much. They pull their hand away, and you end up dropping whatever it is. It happens all the time. It happens to me as an adult. I go to hand somebody something, their hand moves, it drops. Well, this ump, being as fragile and ridiculous as he is, thought that Realmuto did it on purpose and tossed him immediately. No conversation, no nothing. Got so butthurt because he dropped the ball and thought he looked embarrassed, tossed him from the game. And the look on Realmuto's face just said it perfectly of like, what is happening? Like, what, like, are you okay? Like, are you going to cry? Like, what is going on right now? And a simple explanation from him was just like, I thought you were going to throw back the ball. And that's it. Like, it was so absurdly ridiculous. And I'm glad they're getting it out of their system now. But I am scared that because this ump is going to be in the MLB. So I am nervous that it, like, you're going to see other things like this happen too. Now, this is an odd case, but still, it is absolutely absurd that this dude got his feelings hurt and was like, yeah, no, you're out. And Jerm, to your point before, how many games did he play without an ejection?
2000.
2000. First time in his career. He was ejected.
That's a terrible. Luckily that happened in the spring training and not a regular game or a game, God forbid, a playoff game where it mattered. It looked like the ump realized pretty quickly that he fucked up, and he's a AAA ump. I'm with it. Like, you got to get him some time, get him out there in spring training. But that was, I mean, if you ever want to make it,
get him time to judge balls and strikes and find a strike zone in Major League Baseball with all of these players, like, give it time to do what? Like, not get your feelings hurt over something as simple as this? I'm not about it. I don't know, man. I don't know how much time you need. I don't know what he needs to do therapy wise to make sure this doesn't happen again, but
you shouldn't be looking to throw players out of games. Like, that was a crazy, especially when literally the pitch before, not even the pitch before, a few seconds before, you threw the ball.
Yeah.
JT did the same thing he did before, stuck his glove out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a ridiculous. I don't know why you can't. So what happened? So, like, can you just unthrow somebody out? Like, the coach,
I don't think so.
There, he talks, Ricky, what's up, man? How you feeling, brother? I believe it's Ricky's birthday today. If I read Facebook correctly.
Well, if it is, happy birthday. If it's not, happy birthday. I don't care.
Yeah, round of applause. Happy birthday. It's your birthday at some point. So shout out to our guy Ricky. I thought Angel Hernandez was out there. I don't know if Angel Hernandez is still with us in terms of refereeing.
I think he's still in the league. So I thought that too, and then realized it wasn't him because of how horrible that was. Like, this has got to be Angel Hernandez, but no, it wasn't. Yeah. So I don't know if you can unthrow somebody out of the game. I think I'll look it up, but I mean, if you can't, or if you can't, I think that should be a rule change. I think the crew chief should be able to make a determination on whether or not what happened was worthy enough for an ejection, because that's just stupid. I mean, look, getting in an ump's face because you're arguing balls and strikes, I get, because it is so subjective because we don't have robo strike zones right now. That's one thing. If you have a manager or a player that's constantly chirping on the bench, just getting on the ump for what he's calling, like, over and over again, I get it. But it's subjective. But something like this, I think the crew chief should be able to step in and be like, yeah, listen, no, you were wrong. He's staying in the game. But
appreciate you, Ricky. Happy birthday. It is indeed his birthday. So second round of applause for that guy. And a couple gunshots for my guy. Shout out to Ricky. Dwayne Marcus. We're entering an unprecedented era of bad officiating from the NCAA. NBA's got to be at the all-time low in officiating, and now baseball's starting their bullshit early in the season. But did you see I wanted to ask you about the call that for the Creighton game, the late foul that sent. Did you agree with that call, or did you? So, like, there's two thoughts of process here, right? There's, and this is really goes to the Phillies umpire. It's like, why are the refs making these like split-haired calls at the wrong time? Like, what's happening here? The Creighton call, I think by text, is probably the right call, right? But in that context, where the whistle and the moment of the game and the way you've been officiating the game, you can't make that call. I don't care if the rule book's on your side, right?
I have an unorthodox amount of sympathy for officials compared to the average human being, because my dad is an official. So like I have an unorthodox amount of sympathy for officials, but like my stance on like good call, bad call, no call, yes call has always been like how egregious was the call. So like for example, when you think back to what year was that, 2018 with the Saints and the Rams and like the very obvious pass interference that wasn't called, like that to me is a bit different than like, well, not a bit different, a whole lot different than what happened in the game with Creighton, right? It's the idea of like, if we as fans, right, want things to be called a certain way in the first, let's say for basketball, for college basketball, like for the first 40, what is it? They played 12. So for the first, they played 12-minute halves, 12-minute halves.
Yep.
For the first 22 minutes of the game, and then the last 2 minutes of the game, we just want all the calls. Like that, I think is a bit much. But then, like if you're an official, it's like, okay, well, like if you make the call, obviously Creighton's happy. If you don't make the call, Creighton's not happy, and vice versa. You don't make the call, the other team that fouled or got away with the foul. Like it's a really tough thing to do. I just don't like. I don't. It's just always tough because they always end up deciding the game. But if you look at the big picture of a basketball game or a football game or a baseball game or whatever it is, like obviously there's a lot of things that lead up to the Mavericks a week and a half ago wanting to protest their loss to the Warriors because of a referee mistake late in the third quarter. Like, so what? You had an entire fourth quarter to figure it out and you didn't. It's like you lost that game. Like, I think it's so easy to blame refs because they're the refs and it's just like the thing to do. If we lose a game, we're going to blame the refs. Monty Williams blamed the refs when the Suns lost to the Lakers because they only had 20 free throws and the Lakers had 46. Like, it just happens all the time. It's a very easy thing to do. Sometimes there are really, really, really bad calls. I think the only thing that I really get upset with at this point is ejections. Like, the amount of double T's we've seen in the past week or so in the NBA, like in a matter of minutes for the same player, is ridiculous. Like
Trae Young got one that throwing the ball at the referee.
Double T the other day. Like, it's in a matter of moments. Like, those are the things, ejections of star players, no matter when in the game, those are the kind of things that I'm like, did you really have to? How do you get 2 texts in 30 seconds? Like,
yeah,
how does that work? I don't think that's ever been a thing that's ever worked. But like, those are things that make me upset. I just have, like I said, I have an unorthodox amount of sympathy for officials because my dad's an official and like I've witnessed him on both sides of these things. It's not fun for them, but like it's not fun for us as fans either when they have the game in the palm of their hands in situations like that.
Dwayne Marcus defending refs. His dad's a ref. I see what's going on around here. So Bert said he doesn't know who to blame. I know exactly who to blame in this situation.
Liberal media.
Waiting for that one, yeah.
100%. Every time something awful in sports, it's definitely
liberal media.
It's fault. So yeah, bad officiating. I'm very excited for this baseball season. But me and Bert were just talking offline about how opening day snuck up on us. And I mean, you look at the schedule. I mean, every team's playing. There's good matchups on there. I don't know, maybe because we're New York fans and our teams aren't, we're already hit with injuries. There's already a lot of stuff going on. But is it like World Baseball Classic followed by spring training, now opening day? Is it baseball fatigue already setting in? For me, it kind of is, especially when and Bert brought this up, when you have 162 games, it's not really a priority. I don't, is baseball opening day for me used to feel like a really big deal. Like it used to be like to me, it was like NFL kickoff weekend was like the biggest. NBA opening day, because the NBA doesn't really start for everybody until Christmas. Like I think that's always been the unofficial start of the NBA season. Nobody really knows that it starts like around Halloween. And, sorry, Bert, hockey is not, that's just hockey's not big in America. I'm sure it's huge. Canada, places.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But in terms of American sports, we just don't consume it at the same rate as we do, baseball or basketball or football. So, I don't, with everything changing, I just expected opening day to be a bigger presence, on TV. And I guess maybe just promotion wise, I feel like it just hasn't been pushed.
I think it was because of the WBC when you think about it, right? Because usually there is a lot more coverage. Not that there wasn't coverage. We're not saying there wasn't, but it just seems like World Baseball Classic took over the headlines for so many reasons. later in it, not just because of the championship game between US and Japan, but because right before that, you had that Edwin Diaz incident, and that had implications, of course, on Major League Baseball and the Mets. So I think you're right. I think there is a little bit of baseball fatigue setting in, and that it was kind of overshadowed by WBC, which is, I mean, fine. Look, we've talked about this before. National tournament, it's huge. But yeah, as Jerm said, we were talking before, it snuck up on us. We didn't even realize it. You have these other, 2 other major league sports getting into their playoff picture. It's exciting. We had a lot of things going on in NFL offseason so far. But hey, listen, here we are. We're not looking forward to it. We're just pleasantly shocked that, oh, okay, it's meaningful baseball starting tomorrow. So that's fine. Let's get into it. So for those of us working, then we'll have to just get the updates on our phone or somehow sneak watching a 1:00 game. In the middle of a Thursday. But yeah, no, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll grill some hot dogs, crack a beer.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I'm off tomorrow, so I'll probably cook some burgers or something and have a beer. I mean, kids will be in school, and I think the Mets have an early game Mets have a 4:00 game against the Marlins. So I'll be dialed in. I'll be dialed into that. Trish popped in. Trish, Mets extremist. Shout out to her. Longtime supporter of the network, unofficial queen of the network. She puts in a lot of work for us, man. I ain't gonna lie. She's selling a lot of that stuff.
Real deal.
Ricky says it hasn't started for me. Yeah, the WC was cool, but spring training didn't spark anything for me. Yeah. I mean, I think at the beginning, spring training was interesting because people wanted to see the rule changes and how that would affect it. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm with the Mets where I am with my Bills, Bert. I'm done hyping up my team until they start winning when it matters, man. I can't do it. I can't do it again. I won't let them do it to me. It's every year we talk all this shit.
March 29th, 8:44 p.m. Marcus, note this down, because when he is literally riding D for the Bills next fall, I want to reference this about hyping them up. We know what fandom is when it comes to Jerm. And we know he's passionate about his Bills. I get it. Don't get all in your feelings right now. We know we're going to see you all about. You're going to take that Josh Allen jersey. You're going to put it on that beefy body of yours, and you're going to be repping the Bills, rightfully so, come August.
Also,
so let's not do this.
Fans of 3 of the most rabid fan bases in sports. It's against your religion as a Bills, Sixers, and Mets fan, Jerm, to not prematurely hype up your team.
I know. Yeah. I know how to pick them, man. I'm emotionally distraught. Man, listen, let me tell you, my mental health is shook because ever since the NFL came out with the rule that players can wear number 0, people have been sending me screenshots of the number 0 with rings as the name on there. And let me tell you, I get on here and I talk a lot of shit, but I cried a little, man. I shed a little thud tear. There's only so much a man can take. But I did not choose my fandoms wisely because I have 3 of the most ridiculous fan bases that go crazy. Like they want the players to jump off bridges, but then they love them to death when they win. It's really weird.
Hey man, I'd rather that than fan bases that don't even show up, right?
Yeah.
So,
I got in some trouble. By calling Miami a second-rate sports city in terms of basketball, but I guess you can say all. I don't think, but when you have LeBron James and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and you don't pack out American Airlines Arena until like the third quarter, you're a second-rate basketball city, man. Sorry, Minnesota. You guys aren't the creme de la creme of where basketball talent goes to thrive. Sorry, it's just not. It's okay to be. Milwaukee's not a first-rate basketball city, but they have a championship team. Neither is Toronto. They have a championship team, so it doesn't mean anything. It's just you're not Philly, you're not New York, you're not Boston, you're not LA. Like these are basketball cities. So, all right, let's get to Lamar Jackson. He's tweeting out here, Dwayne Marcus, talking about his injuries, and he's Coach Prime jumped to his defense, like, oh brother, don't listen to these fools, don't do this, don't do that. He should listen to these fools. Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, is doing more harm than good right now. When you talk about because the owners don't want to give you the money, right? And let me know if I'm off here. But if the owners don't want to give you the money, you shouldn't be talking about what injuries you've had during the past season, because they will use that against you to justify why they're not giving you fully guaranteed dollars. Jim Irsay the other day at the NFL owners meeting
He
said, I love Lamar Jackson. I just don't like fully guaranteed contracts. Sorry, buddy. So he's probably not going to go to Indianapolis unless he doesn't, unless he backtracks on his we don't know what his contract negotiations are, but apparently it's more than what teams are willing to give him, which means he's probably asking for 45 to 50 million guaranteed every year, if not fully guaranteed. So that's a lot. So I think we kind of know why Lamar isn't getting the contract, but Dwayne Marcus, let's get away from why, because it's all speculation, but let's figure out how or what Lamar Jackson can do or what he should do right now going forward.
My opinion on the why is much different, but I mean, Lamar Jackson should be realistic. Like, I understand, like, okay, so when you look at, I know one of the last times I were here, I've been here every week since I've been on break, so I don't know when it was, but I know you were talking about, I don't think it was here, but we were talking about, you had mentioned, like, no one remembers that Mike Conley at one point had signed the largest contract in NBA history because of the law of averages. It all works out, right? We have to get away from it. I know we keep going back to this, but like, this is where it all started. We have to get away from this Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed thing, because that was a desperate move by a desperate organization who had a revolving door of quarterbacks, not just from season to season, but like from week to week, month to month. There was a new quarterback starting for the Cleveland Browns, and he just wanted somebody to come in there that was good enough to be good for an extended period of time. Lamar Jackson's not going to get a fully guaranteed contract. Lamar Jackson should do is realize that he's not going to get a fully guaranteed contract, because if he keeps up on this, Lamar Jackson could very well not be in the NFL. Like that is the road that we are slowly approaching at this point with Lamar Jackson. Of course, the Ravens want him to be their quarterback, of course, and Lamar Jackson wants to be paid what he's worth. The problem is Lamar Jackson thinks he's worth more than Deshaun Watson, which on paper, when you line up their career accolades and their resumes, on paper, you're right. You're the second ever unanimous MVP. Deshaun Watson has never come close to winning an MVP, and you've done a lot more things for your franchise than Deshaun Watson has for the Texans or even for the Browns. You know, he only played like 6 or whatever, like 4 or 5 games, whatever it was last season. I get that. But you're not worth a fully guaranteed contract. This is one of the most physical sports on the face of the planet. You're not getting paid anything fully guaranteed. You want to get paid a fully guaranteed contract, go play in a non-contact team sport. Oh, wait, that doesn't exist. So, like, I don't know what to tell you, Lamar. I love Lamar. I think Lamar Jackson's great. I think he is one of the most, if not the most box office attraction, not named Patrick Mahomes in the NFL today. But he's not getting a fully guaranteed contract. Now, there's a bunch of people on Twitter saying, oh, there's a bunch of dumpster teams that are saying they're not going to pay him. Do you blame him? Do you blame them? I am a fan of a football team that committed 25% of our salary cap to one guy, and it's resulted in nothing. Like, teams aren't going to commit all that money to one guy, and it's not going to result in anything. Look no further than the Green Bay Packers. 25 or 27 something percent of our salary cap over the last 4 or 5 years have been dedicated to Aaron Rodgers. How many Super Bowls have the Green Bay Packers, forget one, been to in the last 5 years? 0. How many Super Bowls has Lamar Jackson been to since he's been in the league? 0. How many playoff games has Lamar Jackson won since he's been in the league? 1. You know who else only won 1 playoff game since they've been in the league? Dak Prescott. And everyone swears up and down that Lamar Jackson's better than Dak Prescott. And Dak Prescott's not getting a fully guaranteed deal. And he plays for one of the most, the most valued teams on the face of the planet in sports. Lamar Jackson's not getting a fully
and easily one of the most reckless owners too, by the way. When it comes down to managing his team and players. Yeah.
Throwing money away. Look no further than Zeke Elliott. Like,
exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Like, he's a great talent. He's a fantastic quarterback. When he is available, the Ravens are great. But here's the problem, Lamar. You haven't been available. You've missed 12 games in the last 2 seasons combined. And your team has, honestly, not done that bad without you. Have they been performing at the level that they had with you? No, but they've been winning games. They almost beat the Bengals in the playoffs this year without you. That would not have been good for Lamar Jackson's contract negotiations if the Ravens won that game in Cincinnati, against Cincinnati in the playoffs. Lamar's great.
They had a chance too. They fumbled the bag at the end of that game. Yeah,
and they had a chance to. Lamar's great, but fully guaranteed is out the window. Like, figure it out. Figure out a way to get your growth elsewhere. Like, load it up with incentives if that's how you want to. If that's how you want to make your money, and like, stay healthy. Like, those are your options. You stay healthy and you load it up with incentives. Fully guaranteed is out the window. Football is one of the most physical contact sports on the face of the planet. No one in football outside of Deshaun Watson will ever get a fully guaranteed contract. It's just not happening. Patrick Mahomes doesn't even have a fully guaranteed contract. He's been the best quarterback in football for the last 5 years. Like, come on.
The Browns are already regretting that. That's how. And this is where I know a few weeks ago, because Lamar doesn't have an agent. This is where an agent is valuable. So do I think a player of his caliber has to have one? No. I think if you have the right lawyers to go over the contracts, he'll be fine. You can negotiate what you want. But this is where an agent would become valuable because you just had the NFL owners meetings. For a player who is trying to be as transparent, that is going about this in a way that says I'm controlling my own narrative, he's being very cryptic on exactly what he wants. To me, what do you want, Lamar? Is it fully guaranteed dollars? What is it? What does it matter if you tell the people or tell the world what you want? If that's your negotiating tactic, it's not really working for you. So just tell us what you want. Just tell if the word is out that you want Deshaun Watson money and it's not true, come out and say that. Come out and say, hey, I want to be paid what I'm worth. The top 5 quarterbacks are getting this. This is the guaranteed dollars. This is what it is. Then just say that. But he's being so cryptic, which leads me to believe he does want the Deshaun Watson contract, in which the Browns have already kind of messed with that money because they already realized it's a bad contract. They gave up too many picks. It was a bad trade. They lost the trade. So the Ravens are in a tough spot because the moment Lamar Jackson leaves that building, they're the worst team in that division and probably a bottom 3 team in the conference somewhere. If he stays, they have Nelson Aguilar and nobody else to build around because they're going to have to dedicate all this money to him. If I'm him, I would try to do a 2-year deal, 1-year deal with an option and take a lower guaranteed amount and start over with a proper agent next year. Because the one thing you can't do is you can't sit out. You can't sit out because you can't. And I don't think he's going to play for the Ravens again anyway. I just think too much has happened. I mean, the Ravens aren't going to let all this happen and then all of a sudden give him exactly what he wants. So the chances of him playing for the Ravens.
Give him a 1 year. Like, why would you just give him a 1 year and knowing that it's a Band-Aid and find something else? Like, for that off chance of that 1 year, it actually brings them a championship.
It just buying them time to kind of meet in the middle, I would say.
I understand. For me, this is I mean, first off, I respect Lamar Jackson for doing this his way. I honestly think he's smarter than people think. He's going out there, he's defending himself, he's trying to provide the reasoning as to why he thinks he deserves it. Whether everybody agrees with it or not, I mean, that's their own prerogative. It doesn't matter. I honestly think he's also feels super burned by Baltimore, and maybe that there's certainly more to it than we know. So now it wouldn't surprise me. The only thing that can help him is if he backtracks, he eats his words and he says, you know what, I will take less. I won't take fully guaranteed because no one's going to give him that. And he just takes an offer or gets traded to a team that he's happy with. I don't know if Baltimore's going to trade him. I don't know if they're going to sign him to like a 1 year, like you said, just to buy him time. At this point, it's like, hey, if you don't want to play here, fine, do it your own way. But we'll be better off without. It's a weird situation that we haven't seen before. So, I mean, you have this combined with like the Aaron Rodgers thing, and it's just like, what is happening in the NFL when it comes down to quarterbacks in the offseason? But man, I don't know. Look, stranger things have happened. I'm with you, Jerm. I don't think he ever plays a snap again for Baltimore, but I also don't know what they're going to do with him or if they're going to deal him. Yeah. I mean, I know he's getting compliments from franchises and ownership, like, take the Falcons. I mean, they like him and they think that he's what was quoted, like he's a different player than Deshaun, which is why he might be worth more, or like he might be worth a guaranteed, but they have some reservations of concern because of, Dwayne Marcus, what you brought up, and the fact that he's only played 12 games over the past 2 seasons. So for me, it's like, which is it? Ownership of other teams are giving him accolades for being an MVP and being that good, but there's still some concern. So how can you draw those comparisons to that contract and be like, yeah, he's great, he's definitely worth it, but we don't know because of his longevity? It's like, pick one or the other. Like, what side are you on? Do you think he's worth it? Or if not, just come straight out and say, hey, you're not worth this. Like
Right.
level set your expectations, and here's why. So it's just, I think it's comments like that are messing with his head, which is causing him to go off on Twitter and defending himself and thinking that people are going to be like, oh yeah, you're right. You know, you shouldn't have played those games when you were hurt to hurt your team and things like that. So
I think the
Yeah,
idea
and it,
is like he's worth it if he's played all. If Lamar Jackson never missed a game, of course he's worth it. But he misses games. Like that's what it is. It's not like what the owners are saying isn't wrong. Like they're acknowledging that like when Lamar's healthy, he's worth whatever it is he's asking for. Because look at it. Like every time he's played for the Ravens before he went down these last 2 seasons, the Ravens were like, if not the top seed, one of the top seeds in the conference, looking like a legit contender. He goes down, things fall apart. It's like when you're on the field and healthy, you're definitely worth what you're asking for. The problem is I'm not going to give you a fully guaranteed contract if you're not going to play all 17 games of a season and be available for me come postseason time. That's what this is really all about. Is Lamar Jackson has an injury problem. Like it's unfortunate. Like you look at people say, look at Russ again. The Broncos, desperate organization with terrible quarterback play ever since Peyton Manning retired. Like you look at the Cardinals. Cardinals haven't had that good of quarterback play in God knows how long. Kyler Murray's their only shot. Like a lot of these teams, like I said earlier, are not dedicating a quarter of their salary cap to one guy, especially if that one guy can't stay healthy for an extended period of time. It's just not happening. I agree. He needs to, I don't know, but like he could tweet himself out of the NFL, which would be sad because he deserves to be in the NFL. Just lower the asking price and work it out.
yeah, and it's funny because I see a lot of that injury prone stuff, and so I went back and looked at the games he missed, and I mean, out of the past 5 years, he's missed the 12 games. I mean, he still played 85% of the season. The problem is his injuries are happening at bad times. Like, you know, like Kirk Cousins, right? It's like the reverse Kirk Cousins. Like you look at Kirk Cousins' record, he's really good. The problem is he keeps losing in prime time when everybody's actually watching him. So it makes him look like a worse quarterback than he actually is. And that's why it's like 1 o'clock Kirk Cousins is a thing, right? Like that's the only time he's good is 1 o'clock. So like if you play him at 1, you're going to lose, but any other time you're pretty good bet. And that's just unfortunate circumstances or bad math or however you want to view it. I feel the same way with Lamar Jackson. Like it's just when you're missing playoff games, I think if his playoff record was better, he'd have a better time. You know, if he's actually done something in the playoffs, he'd have a better time. But when you've especially the last 2 seasons, people keep bringing up, and I hate that we overrate MVPs, especially when you only win 1. When you've gotten worse since the MVP, that MVP doesn't really mean anything. The MVP you won 3 years ago doesn't really help me today when I'm trying to give you $50 million or when you're asking for $50 million. What did you do for me last year, boss? You know what I mean? Like Cam Newton, we talk about all the time. He's won
literally just about to ask you, Jerm, if we think this is the Cam Newton effect.
And I think Lamar's better. I think he can have a better trajectory, but Cam Newton's came after a lot of, like we've seen a lot of Cam Newton until the MVP and then a lot of bad after. So it was that's a fluke, right? Like that's just, you have 14 years of 7-9 and then 115 in one season is a fluke, dog. Like this is not who you are. You had you've had an average career with one really good season. You have great potential. And I think people overrate players because they like them. They want Lamar Jackson to succeed. So we're ignoring the fact that his playoff record is awful. We're ignoring the fact that he hasn't actually led his team to do anything. And so, but all they can say is, oh, he's won MVP. And then they move the goalposts. Oh, he doesn't have help. Oh, he doesn't have this. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, damn, dog. Well, then we're giving out contracts on hopes and dreams. No, like that. These are his circumstances. If he doesn't like it, do what he's doing now and just don't play. Move on. But don't get mad when your circumstances, your situation, or what you're offered is based on what you've produced, which up until this point is largely nothing. So what are you asking for? And when you go out there and you tweet things, talking about, oh, I love the fans and I love this. And I had the tweet up from Deion Sanders, and just like the stuff that he's saying is
yeah, I have it right here. So stop explaining
like,
yourself to fools and allow fools to be fools. A brother trying that strong, believes in himself and willing to stand up for what he believes in will always be misunderstood and judged by fools of all ethnicities. Love your brother and I believe in you, Coach Prime.
So what fools are you talking about? Like,
I'm assuming just these keyboard warrior critics, or even, I mean, maybe he's referring to fools too that don't want to give him this fully guaranteed contract, or and you know, the talking heads that are criticizing him for saying like, no, like, get an agent, level set your expectations, and sign. You know.
So my issue with what Dion said is, with somebody trying to who believes in themselves. First off, everybody believes in themselves. This is not a belief in yourself thing. This is what you have. This is what you have proven to be. Yes, you were an MVP once, but where did we end up in the playoffs in your MVP season? What have you did? What did you do since then in the playoffs? Not dog. You've gotten hurt. You want fully guaranteed dollars for what? And so I just have a hard time sympathizing with Lamar, because I do sympathize with him in the fact that I don't think the Ravens have done enough to help him out.
Yeah,
they've been a one-man show. I'm with that, but he also has to understand his circumstances. You have been hurt the last 2 years. Either take a prove it deal, take the franchise tag, or move on. But be transparent in what you want.
Well, it's like what Marcus said too. It's like, do you want to play in the NFL? If so, get it done. If not, play somewhere else.
Here's the last thing I'll say too is, like, if you look at, now that Brady's gone, obviously, like, if you look at the quarterbacks in the league right now that have more playoff wins in their career than Lamar Jackson, or at least since Lamar Jackson's been in the league, you've got Jimmy G has 5, Josh Allen has 4, Burrow has 5. They're in the same division. Like, Mahomes has 11. He's the standard. Obviously he's because he's the best, but like, he's the standard. He's got 11. Jalen Hurts has more playoff wins than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's played in more playoff games than Jalen Hurts has. Jalen Hurts has played in 3 games, or he's played in 4 playoff games. He has 2 wins. Lamar Jackson's played in 4 playoff games. He has a win. Like, that matters. Like, Ryan Tannehill has more playoff wins than Lamar Jackson since Lamar Jackson's been in the NFL. Dak Prescott, the guy that we love to crap on, he has 2 playoff wins now. Lamar has 1. Like, that's really what this boils down to is, let's say you do get hurt. If you come back in the playoffs, or if you're healthy all season, come playoff time, what are you doing for me? You're giving me 1 playoff win. There's all these other quarterbacks that have done more, some of whom in less time. Trevor Lawrence has made the playoffs 1 time. His 1 playoff win. He's played 2 playoff games. He has as many playoff wins as Lamar Jackson does. Like, it's the argument for Lamar Jackson right now. If the argument for Lamar Jackson is strictly because he's a former NFL MVP, like Jerm said, that was 3 years ago. He's not even played close to that level over the last, since he's won that MVP. Pat Mahomes has won an MVP. He just won another one this season. Like, we've seen quarterbacks play at an MVP level and back it up the following season. Lamar Jackson has gotten worse since he's won MVP. And not just because it's the MVP and it's like your best season. No, like, his season after the MVP was better than this past season. This past season was terrible. And it has to do with injury, but also, like, he's not winning playoff games. Get a grip.
Lamar's odds, week 1 starter, Ravens are at plus 125. So Vegas thinks he'll just end up playing for the Ravens. Colts at plus 275, Pats plus 375, and Commanders and Titans at plus 700. So
I'm surprised the Pats is still that, to be honest with you. They basically came out and said it ain't going to happen.
Yeah. I'm actually shocked that the Colts, well, not really, because they have the second pick, third pick, somewhere around there. So I guess you could flip that pick and the money will work out. But yeah, it's going to be a weird thing. All right. Let's wrap this up and play a little fair or foul.
Let's do it.
All right. Bert, a bunch of MLB simulations were ran. Vegas has spoken, and they have chosen the San Diego Dads to be the World Series winner, buying a title. So will the Padres be the World Series winner, fair or foul? Or the Padres will be the World Series winner, fair or foul?
Yeah, foul. Absolutely not.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way they're gonna
what simulations was it? Was it simulations where only teams from San Diego were in it? Is that what it is? Look, nothing against them. I think they have a solid roster, but I'm sorry. No. And first off, my Yankee fandom will never allow me to say anybody else but the Yankees will win the World Series before the season even starts.
The Yankees, let's see. They didn't even place in the top 6, dog. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you, man. In terms of odds, I don't know. I don't know what that's about.
Haters gonna hate, man. Even
No,
computers don't like the Yankees. Where did your Schmetz end up?
We are number 3 plus 600.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I mean, we're sitting here buying titles out here. I don't know. I'm actually shocked by that. Just I can't. I won't. I refuse to do it without this team starting to win when it matters. Like I'm 100 wins in a game in a season. I know I will. I'll get excited over a couple wins. Like anytime the Mets beat the Yankees, I'll be excited about it.
Yeah.
When the Mets beat the Phillies, I'll be excited about it. But the Braves, oh my God, the Braves. But just like my Bills, just like my Sixers, I expect regular season greatness from my teams now. So I'm not going to get excited over 100 wins. Like, no, dog, win in the playoffs now. This is grown up time. Like, we don't have time for all this.
I mean, the Phillies crawled into the playoffs with the new format last year and almost literally defied the odds. What they have, like 82 wins or something on the season when they win it, maybe less, and they got in.
They were third place in the division, man.
Yeah,
third place in the division. It's a great wild card team. Dwayne Marcus, UConn will win the NCAA tournament.
We're talking foul. Men. Yeah, I had to think about it. Yeah, they're not foul. I don't have much faith in the UConn men. I'm all in on FAU at this point.
Let's go, man. Yeah.
Just pushing all the chips to the center of the table on FAU at this point.
UConn had the most impressive win beating Gonzaga like that. So
it was a great win. It was a great
win. Especially when they get that fucking Timmy guy out of here. I'm so sick of that guy. Sick of seeing that guy's ugly mustache. Just for him to not make the NBA. They hype every year. There's a college player that they hype all 4 years, and then he ends up in the G League for 2 years, and then he goes and beats a coach. That's him. That's Timmy. You'll never be nothing. Dwayne Marcus, sticking with you. Damian Lillard will finally leave the Portland Trailblazers this offseason. Fair or foul?
Foul. He's very devoted. He's really devoted. I mean, I wouldn't blame him if he leaves, but he's been 10 toes down on Portland since he's been through all the ups and all the downs. I don't know if I feel like the only way he'd leave Portland is if they just say, we're just going to send you somewhere else. We just want to rebuild. I don't know if he'll just say, get me out of here. I could be wrong, but I don't know.
I don't think he'll say get me out of here, but I do think that's what the Blazers are going to do. I think it's going to be one of those like, hey, we're not going to fire you. You're just going to quit type deal, like resign. But it's really like we're firing you, but we'll let you resign. We'll let you go out and say, oh, you Trailblazers, you pieces of shit, give me a trade. But like in reality, they're trading you anyway. They just want you to be the good guy because they want to protect your brand. So I do think he's done with the Blazers. It's over. I mean, they shut you down when the play-in tournament is in reach. That's crazy. Nah, dog. He's done. Donezo. All right, this is for both of you. Notre Dame AD Jack Swarbrick said that the NFL should stop this XFL nonsense, stop this USFL nonsense, and have a dedicated NFL minor league. Bert, fair or foul? There should be an NFL minor league.
I mean, at this point, I kind of view both of them as, somewhat of. I mean, I know we've been talking a while, especially for the XFL. So, I mean, if you're going to slap a label on it, then yeah, why not? It might cause teams to, well, I guess expand the roster even more, but you have a whole practice squad for that. So I don't know. I mean, I'm all for developmental leagues. So when the XFL came back, we talked a lot about, hey, is this going to be a hotspot for players to get noticed and signed? And thought it could be it. But if he's calling for an official tag on it, yeah, sure, fair. Why not?
Dwayne Marcus.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody else has got a minor league of some sort. Why not the NFL too?
NFL should absolutely do this. They should buy out the XFL and because people don't respect the XFL because it's called the XFL. People don't watch the USFL because it's the USFL. But if it was the minor league or if NFL minors or however you want to say it, the branding is right there. It doesn't matter if there's a partnership with it, but it has to be directly correlated with the NFL for it to succeed. And I do think there should be a minor league system where if a player gets hurt, they can just pluck a player from their minor league system and go. And it gives you, especially with the drafting, you may be able to reach for a guy that you may not believe in. Instead of cutting him to a practice squad and possibly losing him for players, off waivers, you send him down to your minor league team, your G League team. So that'd be really dope if they did that. So, Bert, there should be no one and done rule in sports. NCAA, NBA is possibly flirting with the idea of getting rid of the one and done rule. Surprise, surprise, because LeBron James Jr. is about ready to be draft eligible. But should there not be a one and done rule in sports, period?
I mean, look, you know me, I'm a hockey guy, and we have best of 7 series here. So I like the fact that you have teams going up against each other over and over again, because at that point it's certainly a battle of wills as much as it is skills, and it's also a battle of, it's just pure physical battle through and through. You're in that fight every single time. Now in tournaments like March Madness and NCAA, like I'm all for one and outs. I mean, how else are you going to do it? It's crazy to drag it on that long.
We're talking about drafting players like high school, like going to college for one.
I thought you were talking about like playoff formats.
Oh no. I love one and dones in playoffs too. I'm talking about one and done for college players. Like, so players will just go to school for 1 year just to be draft eligible. But
got you.
They're talking about getting rid of that. So a high school guy could just go straight to the league.
No, I mean, I don't think you should get rid of that. I think it should be up to the player, right? I mean, they're taking the gamble with themselves, their body, their athleticism, just as much as the team is taking a gamble on them. But think of all the greats that just went right into any league. Hockey, you have Sidney Crosby, you have Wayne Gretzky. With the NBA, take your pick. Whether it's Jordan, Kobe, I could think Jordan went to college, but Kobe, like LeBron, I mean, come on. So no, don't get rid of it. That's ridiculous.
Dwayne Marcus?
I don't. It's always tough because the thing has always been you want to get to the NBA as soon as possible because that's where the money is. But now with the NIL stuff, it's I don't really think at this point there's an incentive to just do 1 year and go straight to the league. I was looking today, Bronny already, without having suited up for a college basketball team, can make at most, it's projected $7.2 million. Just being in college.
He really needs the money too.
Yeah.
So
struggling high school athlete.
Yeah. So I think if there wasn't in the NIL thing, then sure, but because that was always the thing. You want to get into the NBA as soon as possible to make money. Now that you can make the money in college, why not stay and get as good as possible before jumping into the league, getting devoured, and then no one hears from you again, like Doug McDermott. Or is Doug McDermott?
Dude, but think of all those players that rise to the occasion. I mean, you're only as good as the opponents you play against to push you to that extra level. So, I mean, look, I'm a firm believer in everybody has skill to make it to that level, but the ones that are great, you're going to rise to the top because you want to, and you want to put in that work and you want to be great. Then you have the Ben Simmons of the fucking world that are cool, just cruising right through it. So I understand. Look, some people are going to fall out. That's natural selection at its finest. But I mean, you get that talent, especially those sleepers too, that end up being great. That's what makes sports exciting.
That's true.
Ben Simmons getting shut down by the Brooklyn Nets.
I like this move.
By the NBA.
Yeah. I love all the bad things that happen to Ben Simmons. It makes me very happy inside. I prayed for that man's downfall. Judge me. I don't care. Jimmy Thompson says people don't respect it because they've already seen those players fail at the pro level. So he's talking about the XFL, USFL thing.
That's a really good point, actually.
Yeah. But then you
got watching the scrubs, the Scabs play, the what was that movie? The Replacements.
But AJ McCarron's killing it. You know what I mean? A guy like AJ McCarron wouldn't have gotten that opportunity if it wasn't. So you're going to get a lot of guys who couldn't make it to the NFL, but aren't we technically already doing that in college? A lot of those guys that play college aren't going to make it, period. Yeah. It's just the only difference is we haven't seen them try yet. But vast majority of them aren't going to end up being anything. So
it's a mental
see the
difference. They
point.
haven't failed
It
it
is.
yet. You
Right,
know,
yeah,
like that's what
yeah.
it is. And look, I mean, I know you, I know me, I know Dwayne Marcus. We're all for second chances. You know, like
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
what we love to see in sports in particular. So I understand that point. It is a valid point for why the majority of people are just like, whatever. Like they're washed up or they couldn't make it. So why am I going to watch them? But I mean, look, it's more football. I don't know. It seems like a good enough reason.
JT he's just mad because we didn't pick his Miami Hurricanes to win the Final Four. That's all it is. Last one, Dwayne Marcus. Joel Embiid played himself out of the MVP race by skipping the Nuggets game.
Foul. That's the biggest pile of.
I hate that. I hate Kendrick Perkins for what he did.
That's such a disgusting narrative. I mean, you're talking about a guy who has been. He's been the best player in basketball all year.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe 1B to Giannis or Jokic or whoever. But like the thing, and Embiid said something that's really true the other day too. He was like, he doesn't understand why every time when we get to this time of the year, we talking about pressure, why his name already comes up. He's never won an MVP, right? Like he's never been out of the second round. Like he doesn't have any hardware. He's never won a championship, but yet we always say he's under pressure. We never shift that onto other players who have a bunch of regular season success or a bunch of regular season accolades and don't get the job done. Namely Nikola Jokic. Like no one says Jokic is under pressure, and he's a back-to-back MVP, possibly the first ever third or the first three-peater since Bird. Like he makes a good point. No, he hasn't played himself out of the MVP. He's still the MVP of the league. He missed a game. So what? Kawhi plays one game a week, and the people still think the Clippers are championship favorites. Stop it.
Joel Embiid already gave Jokic like 47 points and like 20 rebounds. So fuck you guys. Fuck Kendrick Perkins. Bert, do you have a game ball you want to give out?
I do, but first I need to ask you both a question. You ever find yourself feeling down, feeling blue, and people telling you, you know what you should do? You should do something to really feed your soul. Well, guess what, gentlemen? A new study out of the UK has proven that sports are good for the soul. And here's why. So what they did is they surveyed about 7,200 adults between the ages 18 and 85, and they found that attending live sporting events improves levels of well-being and reduces feelings of loneliness. So when surveying, they asked about their sports viewing habits and overall how many live games they've went to and their feelings and their life satisfaction throughout. So from attending the live events, from free amateur events to professional Premier League matches, it resulted in higher life satisfaction scores and lower loneliness scores. The study also found that live sports attendance leads to an increase in people's sense that life is worthwhile, and the size of this increase is comparable to that of gaining employment, so like getting a job. So what does this mean, gentlemen? It means at the very least, sports is good. Playing sports is maybe good for the body, but watching sports is certainly good for the soul. And you know what? I couldn't agree more with that. You know, there's a sense of belonging. There's a sense of camaraderie. What am I looking for here? Camaraderie. Yeah, there we go. So listen, next time you're feeling down, just pop on some sports, you know, or listen to guys talk about sports. Or listen to guys and girls talk about sports. Just everything sports, you know, stuff about sports, some would say. Just had to mention that. But
no, that was dope.
Getting to my game ball. So one of the things I absolutely love seeing in professional sports is athletes giving back to kids and making kids feel 1,000% special. So the San Francisco Giants, Sergio Romo, whenever he was asked for an autograph during spring training, he from a kid, he actually had that kid sign his hat. So there was a picture circulating social media the other day before the game in which he stepped on the mound of a bunch of children's handwritings, like their name under the brim of his hat and the inside of his hat too, and he wore it during an actual game. I just thought that was super cool. My game ball goes to him. That is the type of giving back to a community that I like to see in sports. And just think about that especially because I have kids, like that young fan asking for an autograph from a favorite player. And in turn, not only does he do it, but he asks for their autograph back. It's something that they're going to remember for the rest of their life. So look, well done, Sergio. Honestly, really cool story. So game ball goes in.
That's dope. Dwayne Marcus.
For the third time in 4 years, and for the second time in a row, Dawn Staley head coach of my South Carolina Cox, has been named the Naismith Women's Basketball Coach of the Year. I think it's amazing. It's yet another accolade for what has been an amazing career for Dawn Staley. And the next up is the national championship in a week and a half. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Universal game ball to all the MLB teams. They're going to start their quest for a World Series tomorrow. So shout out to all of you guys, except the Yankees. No, I'm joking. My game ball is going to go to Sixers and Devils owner Josh Harris and his group that might be buying the Washington Commanders. Finally agreed to, they scrapped up some money. They looked in the couch, and the ball is rolling on getting the sale of the Commanders on out of here. I believe Magic Johnson was the final nail in that coffin. It gave him a couple extra coins to finish that deal. So it's going through whatever little litigations and whatever type of negotiations they have to go to, but hopefully it leads to the sale of the Washington Commanders and releases it from the clutches of the evil Dan Snyder. Because Dan Snyder absolutely has just been an absolute shit stain on American sports. I'm tired of him. He has drugged that entire city, that entire franchise, straight down to hell. And speaking of hell, Art Briles.